Hello guys, this is my favorite part. We've seen how to implement queries, how to implement mutations, and now I want to show you something really interesting. We will add the new table, user, and also foreign key on to-do table. When you are used to know only REST API, you get an idea. This is simple. I want to use joins. So you want to join user and to-do and return data. This is fine. In GraphQL, you are not forced to fetch everything at once. You can say, okay, I want to fetch only users. I want to fetch only to-dos. I want to fetch user with to-dos. I want to fetch to-do with users. And it's up to you. So you don't want to do every time when you fetch user join on to-do table. You want to add join only when you want to attach to-dos to the user. But in GraphQL it's much simpler. You can cache data with DataLoaders. Let's say you want to select all from to-dos where user ID is equal to 1, and now you want to fetch some user. Select all from users where ID is 1, and now you want another to-do which is for the same user, so you will add the same query, and so on and so on. And you want to avoid this approach. Instead you want to add user ID in 1, 2, 3, and from the users you want to know which ID. So again in 1, 2, 3. So instead of multiple queries, you want to create only 2. This problem is known as N+1 problem, and it happens when you have some data, for example user, or it's much simpler to go from the another side. You have to do, let's say Volga.doc, it's owned by Joe, call mom Joe, learn GraphQL Jane, learn JavaScript Jane, and you have 4 to-dos with 2 users, Joe and Jane. And if you fetch Volga.doc, you also will need to fetch Joe. If you fetch call you will need to fetch Joe. So in the previous call you already know who is Joe. You don't need to fetch Joe again. And this is what DataLoader solves. So let's summarize it. We want to avoid joins all the time because it's not REST API. We as users can say backend what data we want back. So I can return only to do. I can also return to with user. It's up to me. In the table to do, I added user ID, which is foreign key. I also added user, which is used by entity framework, and on the user I also add to-dos, which is the also solved by entity framework. So if I have entity user, I can ask for to-dos and it will automatically create a query for me. The same applies for to-do. I have to-do entity. If I ask for user, it will give me automatically the user entity. It can be join, also it can be select. It depends on your strategy. In some ORMs you can choose, in some you can't. Also in the application DB context, I edit users starting point where you can ask for users. Also I edit foreign key for table to do. So to do has one user and user can have many to do's, and foreign key is user ID. Also I edit on cascade. When the user is deleted, you will also need to delete the to do. I edit two users, Joe and Jane, and to do's are the same as before. You need to create two types for the user and for the to do. And the reason is simple. Let's say you want to get the users, it's the same ID, name, email, and now you want to do's. And this is what is solved by user type. You say descriptor field to do's and you add your own implementation with help of DataLoader. We will take a look at DataLoader later. Also if you want to fetch to do's, ID, name, status, and the user of the to do, you have to do type. We also want to ignore the foreign key user ID. We don't want it, so we will remove it from the schema, and we add our own implementation of user, which is also DataLoader. In the DataLoaders, I prepared DataLoader to do's by user ID and user ID. So for the to do's by user ID, we will use await DB context with cancellation token. So we want to avoid data leaks. And now you fetch the to do's by user ID and you will group it by user ID and return it. The same applies for the users. You will fetch users by the ID and return it like this. So it's up to you how you implement it, but DataLoader is cached. You don't need to get data again and again. The next step is register everything in program.cs. So you will add type for user type, add type for to do type, and add DataLoader for to do's and users. In the queries, we will add get users, so you can fetch users. Also get one user and get to do's by user. I will use the prepared queries. So you can see I have the user with ID, name, email, and their to do's. Also there is Jane with her to do's. If you omit status or email, it's fine. If you omit to do's, you're also fine. You will get only the user. I will remove the queries and run the query, and you can see we do select only on the user table. If I also ask for to do's, you can see we do select for the users and the second select for to do's by user ID within. Also let's clean it and use it for to do's. So what we did, we called select for to do's, and now the same similar query for users. So select user from user table and by ID in. Also, if you omit the user, you will ask only for to do's. This is the power of GraphQL. you are not limited for doing joins all the time. You can do just one select or two selects, it depends on data you ask for. That's all, and see you in the next video.